Step back. Now, you're interfering.
I'm observing. State your authority and your reason right now.
I don't have to explain anything to you. Move or you're going in cuffs.
You will explain. Name, badge number, and supervisor on scene.
Don't test me. Hands where I can see
I'm not
them.
reaching for anything. Where's the warrant?
Last warning, get out of my
I'm
space.
not reaching for anything.
An ICE agent tried to bully control out of a public space, and the moment a Black Panther member demanded the basics, authority, cause, paperwork, the officer's voice turned into threats. That was the catastrophic mistake, escalating without a clear legal basis, on camera, in public, against someone who knows exactly how these encounters get twisted. And now it won't end with a warning, it ends with exposure, a lawsuit, a career on the line, and a hard look at how enforcement turns into intimidation when no one pushes back. His name is Malik Mace Carter, 38 years old, a Black Panther member known in his community for showing up when people feel cornered and making sure encounters with law enforcement don't turn into disappearances. He's been active in organizing and community defense work for 12 years, focused on legal observation, rapid response support, and public accountability whenever federal agents move through the neighborhood. Malik has coordinated hundreds of documented incident reports, trained volunteers to film safely and take sworn statements, and help connect families to pro bono attorneys and civil rights advocates with stops across the line. To the people who know him, his credibility isn't a slogan, it's a track record. He arrives calm, speaks with precision, and refuses to let intimidation pass as procedure. ICE is the antagonist here because it often works with immigration paperwork, not criminal charges, meaning agents can arrest people using documents ICE issues itself, and they also use hold requests that ask local jails to keep someone for ICE pickup. In the real world, that kind of setup can feel like the law to the person on the street, even when there's no judge involved, and it makes it easier for an agent to push hard, demand compliance first, and explain later. That's why Malik's challenge hit so hard in this story. When he demands a clear reason, paperwork, and a supervisor, the agent doesn't calm down, he escalates. And after moments like this, complaints usually go into ICE's own internal process, where the public rarely sees clear outcomes, which is exactly how the agency protects itself and keeps moving. It starts at the grocery store parking lot entrance, right where the sidewalk narrows between the cart corral and the sliding doors. Cars roll past slowly, people push carts, a security camera blinks above the entrance. The ICE agent approaches from the edge of the lot, bodycam already running. He doesn't scan the scene like someone looking for a specific person. He walks straight toward the Black man standing near the curb, as if the decision was made before he got close. The civilian is holding a phone at waist level, not recording yet, just standing there like anyone waiting for a ride. The agent closes distance fast, 3 quick steps. His posture is forward, chest out, shoulders tight. The camera shakes with each step. The agent's hand hovers near his belt, then brushes the radio without pressing it. "Hey, stop right there." The agent snaps. The civilian freezes. He doesn't run. He doesn't argue. He shifts his weight back half a step, palms opening slightly in that instinctive way people do when they're trying to signal, "I'm not a threat." His face is confused and careful, like he's measuring every movement. "What? I'm just waiting," the man says, voice low, controlled. The agent steps closer anyway, until the body cam is close enough to catch the man's breathing. That's the first clear sign of bias. No warning, no normal distance, no basic courtesy, just pressure. The agent talks like the man has already done something wrong. "Don't move. Where are you headed? What are you doing here?" He fires off, sharp and impatient, like the questions are accusations. The man answers the way innocent people answer when they realize they're being treated like a suspect for existing. "I'm waiting for my ride. I just came out. What's going on?" The agent ignores that. He doesn't accept a normal explanation because he wasn't looking for one. He shifts slightly to block the man's path toward the store doors, forcing him to stay in place. You can hear the door chime behind them as someone exits and walks around, choosing not to look too long. "You match a description," the agent says. He doesn't say what description. He doesn't say who called. He doesn't say what crime. It's the oldest line in the book, especially when the person in front of you is Black. Vague suspicion, zero details, total confidence. The civilian swallows and keeps his voice calm. "A description of who? I didn't do anything." The agent leans in as if calm is disrespect. "Hands where I can see him." This is what racism looks like in real time. a normal black man standing outside a store, is treated like a danger that needs to be controlled. The agent doesn't ask, he commands. He doesn't clarify, he escalates. He's turning everyday life into a threat scenario because he's looking at black skin and assuming risk. Before the agent can push closer, another figure steps into frame from the left, fast, deliberate. A man in a plain jacket, steady posture, eyes locked on the agent. He places himself between the agent and the civilian without touching anyone. It's protective, controlled, practiced. "Officer," he says, voice firm. "Back up. What's the legal basis for this?" The agent's head snaps toward him. The camera jolts. The tone changes instantly from bullying the civilian to trying to dominate the challenger. "This doesn't involve you." The agent spits. "Step away." The Black Panther member doesn't step away. He doesn't shout first. He doesn't posture. He does something that disrupts the entire dynamic. He demands clarity. "It involves me when you're threatening him with no cause," he says. "State your authority. State your reason." The agent steps forward, trying to reclaim physical space. The camera dips as the agent moves in. His hand comes up again near the belt, not drawing anything, but making the threat visible. "You're interfering," the agent barks. "Move, or you're going in cuffs." The Black Panther member holds his ground. "I'm observing." Name, badge number, supervisor on scene. That's when the agent's confidence starts to sound like panic. He doesn't answer. He doesn't give identification. He doesn't explain. He goes straight back to intimidation, because intimidation is what he has. "I don't have to explain anything to you," the agent says, louder now, voice pushing into the mic. Hands where I can see him. The Black Panther member raises his hand slightly, slow and deliberate, showing he's not reaching for anything. "My hands are visible." "I'm not reaching." "Where's the paperwork? Where's the warrant?" The civilian behind him stays still, eyes wide, hands still open. He's watching the same thing millions of black Americans recognize instantly. A law enforcement figure manufacturing authority while refusing transparency. It's not public safety, it's control, and it lands on black people first. The agent takes another half step forward, trying to crowd the Black Panther member back. "Last warning, get out of my space. Last warning to you." The Black Panther member answers, voice colder, sharper now because the danger is rising. "Touch him without cause and this becomes evidence. Call your supervisor. Now." The agent's breathing gets louder in the mic. The camera shakes. For a split second, his hand presses the radio like he's about to call for backup, but he hesitates, because the moment he calls a supervisor, he has to explain what he's doing and why. And he looks suspicious is not going to sound clean when it's attached to a black man who was standing outside a grocery store doing nothing. Instead, the agent tries one more time to force the situation back into fear. "Turn around," he orders, harsh. "Both of you." The Black Panther member doesn't comply with an illegal sounding command. He doesn't run. He doesn't threaten violence. He repeats the demand that exposes the whole operation. "Supervisor," he says, "paperwork, reason." The civilian behind him remains silent now, because he understands something important. This is no longer about explaining himself. This is about whether the system will admit it targeted a black man without cause, or whether it will double down and punish anyone who refuses to be intimidated. "Step back, now. You're interfering," the agent snaps. Malik doesn't flinch. He steps in earlier than anyone expected, putting his body between the agent and the black man before the agent can force the civilian into that familiar posture of submission. And this is the injustice, plain and direct. An ICE agent threatens detention without stating a clear reason, then escalates again when challenged by a black man who knows the rules. It's not about safety. It's not about law. It's about authority being exercised in the easiest direction, toward black bodies. Then the scene shifts fast, earlier than the agent expects. 2 more Black Panther members arrive from the sidewalk side in quick succession. Not chaotic, not yelling, just controlled movement and presence. Phones are up. They keep distance, but their formation changes the atmosphere immediately. Fewer places for intimidation to hide, fewer ways to rewrite the story later. One of them speaks first, calm and direct. "What's the legal basis?" "Say it." Another adds, equally controlled, "Supervisor on scene." Now, the agent's head turns. His posture changes. He's suddenly measuring risk, because now it's not one person challenging him. It's a disciplined group with cameras, names, and a record of documenting misconduct. This is the moment the agent realizes the dynamic has flipped. His threats are being recorded by people who won't disappear and won't be brushed off easily. He tries to bluff. Back up or you're all going to jail. Nobody advances. Nobody threatens him. They hold position, steady, forcing him to either justify the detention or expose that there is nothing to justify. Malik stays centered. You're escalating because you can't explain yourself, he says. That's the story. The agent can't produce paperwork. He can't state a reason that sounds legitimate. And as the Black Panther members hold the line, the agent does what people like this often do when they lose control of the moment. He retreats, not with professionalism, with anger. He backs away, hand hitting the radio without a clear call. He scans the scene, cameras, faces, the store entrance, and you can feel the calculation. Continuing now means consequences later. He turns and walks fast toward the lot, then faster. The body cam swings with it. No closure, no explanation, just a tactical exit, because the power he was relying on depended on isolation, fear, and silence. And now he has none of that. By that night, the video is everywhere. The Black Panthers recorded everything. Shaky, raw audio, recorded from a few steps away in the grocery store parking lot. You can hear the wind, carts rattling, a car passing, and then the agent's voice cutting through it like a weapon. The first clip that spreads is simple. Malik standing square, voice controlled, asking for the basics. The agent refusing, raising his voice, threatening cuffs. The civilian off-frame, silent, frozen. The caption on the first upload is direct because the footage is direct. I tried to arrest a black man outside a store with no stated reason. Black Panther members stepped in, then more angles appear. Someone recorded from near the sliding doors. Another person filmed from the cart corral. A third got the wide shot from across the lot that shows the spacing. The agent stepping into Malik's space, the way he blocks the path, the way he keeps reaching toward his belt. The clips don't need interpretation. They show a familiar pattern, a black man being treated like a suspect. Before anyone says what he's suspected of, the Black Panther members do what experienced organizers do. They turn chaos into a record. They pull the cleanest moments, stitch them in order, and post them with a short timeline and the location. They pin the strongest line of the entire encounter because it's the next morning. The video lands in the place ICE cares about most, management and legal. Not because they suddenly discovered racism exists, but because the footage is now a liability event. It's tagged at local reporters, community pages, and civil rights accounts. People are emailing it directly to oversight offices. A short subject line keeps repeating in inboxes, video evidence, agent threatened arrest, with no stated cause. Inside a regional office, someone senior pulls it up on a monitor. No cinematic setup, just a phone video pause on a frame where the agent is crowding Malik, voice elevated, hand near his belt. A supervisor sits forward and watches it twice without speaking. Play it again, the supervisor says. The audio hits the same points every time. No clear reason given, no explanation offered. Immediate threats. The supervisor doesn't ask, was this fair? He asks the question institutions ask when they see clean footage. Where's the justification? He says. An analyst flips through the initial internal note the agent submitted after the encounter. It's vague, suspicious, interference, officer safety. The supervisor points at the screen. Where is suspicious in the video? He asks. What did he say the person did? What did he say the reason was? No one answers because there isn't an answer. The video is the answer. Then the policy problem becomes obvious. The agent is acting like he can detain first and explain later in a public space with no clear legal reason spoken out loud. He's treating a question from a Black Panther member like a crime. He's turning standing outside a store into detainable behavior. That's not a one-off. That's a culture problem. That's the story the footage tells. It's the same dynamic black people experience everywhere. The presumption of wrongdoing, the hostile tone, the pressure to submit, the threat of force when you ask for basic respect. They pull the agent's file next because that's what supervisors do when the video looks like a lawsuit. Complaints that go nowhere. Reviews that end with insufficient evidence. A trail of incidents where people describe the same behavior, aggressive approach, vague suspicion, escalation when questioned. Institutional protection doesn't always look like a cover-up. Sometimes it looks like paperwork. That never produces consequences. Urgent corrective action starts immediately. Because now it's not just morality, it's exposure with proof. They issue a directive removing the agent from field operations pending review. Because a lawsuit is predictable now, and discovery will demand everything. And because jurisdiction matters. When an agency is caught behaving like this on camera, they also check the operational authorization, who approved the activity in that area, what the stated mission was, and whether local coordination was required. The point is not to learn. The point is to limit damage and identify where policy failed, because the footage is going to be played in public and in court. Meanwhile, the online campaign keeps tightening. The Black Panther members repost the clearest segments with captions that don't let anyone hide behind vagueness, no reason stated. Threats of cuffs, detention ordered. Malik posts one short statement, controlled anger, no theatrics. This is racial profiling, he says. You can hear it. You can see it. He went straight to threats because he expected silence. We weren't silent. That's the turning point. The officer's power depended on confusion and isolation. Phone cameras removed both. And once the video proved how a black man was being treated for doing nothing in public, the institution did what it always does when the risk shifts upward. It moved fast, not to protect the civilian, but to protect itself. The lawsuit is filed within weeks. It is not framed as misunderstanding. It is filed as a civil rights violation, unlawful detention, racial profiling, intimidation under color of federal authority. The complaint is precise. It attaches still images from the phone footage. It transcribes the exact lines where the agent refuses to state a reason and jumps straight to threats. It names the harm clearly: humiliation in public, fear of arrest without cause, targeting based on race. The attorney reads from the filing during a press conference. He threatened detention without stating a lawful basis, she says. He escalated when challenged, and he did it to a black man standing outside a grocery store doing nothing illegal. Reporters asked the obvious question: how do you prove racial profiling? The answer is simple, because the footage is simple. You listen to the tape, she replies. You look at the absence of cause. You look at the pattern. Discovery begins. Internal records are requested, complaint histories, prior use of force reviews, internal emails, training documents, performance evaluations. The agency tries to narrow the scope. The court does not allow it. Behind closed doors, lawyers review the agent's record. The same language appears again and again: suspicious presence, non-compliance, officer safety. The same demographic pattern appears too. Stops concentrated in predominantly black neighborhoods. Complaints dismissed as unsubstantiated. No sustained discipline. One internal email surfaces during discovery. It is short and careless. He can be aggressive, but gets results. That line becomes Exhibit 14. Because aggressive in this context meant approaching black men as presumptive threats. Gets results meant making arrests that did not always hold up in court. The pattern is not accidental. It is cultural tolerance. A federal review is quietly opened, not because the agency volunteered transparency, but because the publicity forces oversight. Supervisors are questioned under oath. Why was no reason stated? An attorney asks. We believe there was reasonable suspicion, a supervisor replies. Based on what? The attorney presses. There is a pause. The numbers make the exposure worse. In the previous 3 years, the agent had been the subject of 9 formal complaints. 7 involved allegations of aggressive stops without clear cause. All 9 were closed without sustained findings. No suspension, no demotion, no mandatory retraining beyond routine refreshers. That becomes the systemic failure, a pattern documented, acknowledged internally as aggressive, but never corrected. The case does not go to trial. It settles. The total settlement is $2.4 million. $1.6 million is allocated to the primary victim for emotional distress, reputational harm, a violation of constitutional rights. $400,000 covers legal fees and litigation costs. $250. $0 is allocated to Malik for retaliatory targeting and civil rights interference. $150,000 is directed into a court-monitored community oversight fund as part of the agreement. The government does not admit wrongdoing in the settlement language, but the financial breakdown speaks louder than any press release. During internal review proceedings, the agent is placed on administrative leave, then reassigned, then formally separated from field. Enforcement operations. Officially, It is described as policy violations and conduct inconsistent with agency standards. Unofficially, it is the cost of being caught on camera doing what had been tolerated before. One supervisor is required to step down from his role overseeing field conduct, not fired, but removed from supervisory authority. That matters because the lawsuit exposed not just one man's behavior, but the failure to act on documented complaints. New directives follow. Field agents must state a clear legal basis for any detention attempt on camera. Supervisors must be notified immediately when a detention is challenged in public. All agents in the region undergo mandatory retraining on bias recognition and de-escalation. A revised complaint review process is introduced, requiring external audit for repeat allegations involving racial targeting. During a closed-door policy meeting, one senior official says what the agency avoids saying publicly. This wasn't about paperwork, he says. It was about judgment, and everyone in that room understands what that means. Judgment shaped by bias, because that is what the footage revealed to the world. A black man standing in a parking lot was treated like a criminal without a reason. When he was defended by other black men who knew the law, the response was escalation. The only reason it stopped was because it was recorded and amplified. At a final press briefing, Malik stands beside the attorney. This was never about one day, he says. It was about a pattern. We forced that pattern into the light. The civilian, quieter, says fewer words, but clearer ones. I did nothing, he says. Nothing. And I was almost in cuffs. That sentence carries the moral certainty the case proved. The harm wasn't hypothetical. It wasn't procedural. It was racial profiling unfolding in public. The institution paid money. It reassigned personnel. It rewrote policy language. But the most important shift came from exposure. Because once the record showed that a black man could be threatened with arrest for doing nothing, and that the only thing that stopped it was organized resistance and documentation, the cost of ignoring that behavior became higher than the cost of correcting it. And that is the only reason the correction happened. This story is meant to generate awareness. It proves that accountability only shows up when power is challenged, recorded, and forced into the open. And it proves that racial profiling is not abstract. It is a lived experience that unfolds in ordinary places on ordinary days. In 2025, Black Americans were nearly 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white Americans. And 77% of black adults say they are treated less fairly by police than white people. So ask yourself, how many incidents never get recorded? How many threats never make it to court? How often does suspicion simply mean someone is black in the wrong place at the wrong time? And what would have happened in this case if no one had stepped in? Do you know any organizations that work to protect the rights of black people in America? Legal support groups, community safety initiatives, or civil rights coalitions? Share them in the comments. Let's support those working for justice and safety for all. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.